Hey y'all, we are here in New Orleans with Bo Shuff, the Executive Director of the United States Bartenders Guild. Bo, welcome to Served Up. We are so happy to have you.
I appreciate the time. I'm glad we got to put this together.
Absolutely. You know, you've worn a lot of hats throughout your career.
That is very true.
You know, and so what really pulled you into the world of hospitality and into the United States Bartenders Guild?
Yeah, for me, it's actually a return. I started my career coming out of college in hospitality. I spent 10 years, the line I've been using is from dive bars to Disney, because I literally worked in one of the scariest buildings I've ever been in Columbus, Ohio, all the way up to a couple of the resorts at Disney World. So at that time, I stepped back out of it into what my schooling was about, which was political science and international affairs. And spent the last 25 years of my career in nonprofit and campaign management, working on a variety of issues for a variety of candidates, from state legislative races up to 2 presidential races. I spent the last 7 years right before USBG working on an effort to make DC the 51st state. And that had been a long, hard campaign. We passed it successfully through the House for the first time in history. And at that point, I realized that the movement needed a new set of legs, and I needed a new project and a new passion, and I started looking for what I was going to do next. And honestly, I saw a job posting on Indeed, which I'm not even sure happens all that often anymore, and I applied for it because it just sounded like an awesome combination of where I had been and where my roots were and where I had gotten a start in the hospitality industry, to come back and take now the association management and organizational management that I had learned and apply it to this community.
For people who are not as familiar with the USBG, and some people think it's maybe just education, or some people maybe think it's networking, talk about the advocacy piece of USBG and how that plays a role.
It's really all of those things. We do a ton of education. We do a ton of network. We do a ton of community building. So we have thousands of members across the country in 43 different communities that are organized, and we have at-large members as well in those unorganized communities. The primary focus of USBG is on educational programming, whether or not that's instructional, brand, competition-based education, all of that. Our local communities focus on that community building and networking within the city that you're in. You know, the best way to find jobs in a locality is to know the people who are working on them. We have, since coming on board last August, started to expand our advocacy work and really look at it at how can we take the voice of these thousands of members and amplify it. We've done a lot of work in coalition over the last couple of months, signing on to statements about tariffs and engaging in that effort, involving ourselves with informing folks about their rights around immigration, stuff that really applies to this industry in a unique way that other industries or other sectors aren't sort of dealing with. We're going to expand some of our work, I think, shortly as it relates to this proposal of work permits for undocumented or underdocumented folks. So we want to be very deliberative and intentional about how we start to engage, because we're an organization that hasn't done advocacy in the past. We need to build our coalitions. We need to build our reputation. We need people to understand that we're here to play for serious things, and they're serious issues, and we know how to think about them and put voice to them.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And with that said, it makes me really proud to be part of the United States Bartenders Guild.
Awesome. I'm glad you remember.
Yeah, and that the mission is, you know, shifting and ever evolving, because it is a young organization here in the United States.
Yeah.
Maybe not through the IBA, through the International Bartenders Association, but we are still very young here in the United States. And so it's really fun to see it grow and evolve and change. And with that said, you know, from spirits to wellness to DEI initiatives, the USBG educational programs are broad. And what they just offer to members is just so broad. And so what area of development really excites you the most?
Yeah, the thing that I'm most excited, it actually comes from a film that I just watched just after starting, called Join or Die, which is a drastic title, but it's a really and it talks about the sense of how community-based organizations, no matter their subject matter, are vital to the health and wellness of our country, and vital to the health and wellness of the individuals within those organizations, whether that's the Girl Scouts or something like professional like USBG. And so I'm really excited about helping our chapters develop those programs and expand their community building piece, so that people see USBG as a place to grow and network and make friends and be social, and interact on all kinds of different levels. That it's not only this type of thing, that not only competition, not only brand awareness, all of those are important, but that they can come to the USBG and be part of all of these pieces. So I really want to focus on empowering our communities and our chapters to grow and become solid and know how to run a meeting, much less an organization, and help them develop those skills. And I think that gives us a space to develop our advocacy programs, in that we can focus on local advocacy as well. Those communities can be worrying about what's going on in their own cities, their own states. We know that state by state control laws vary, noise ordinances vary, minimum wages vary, OSHA standards vary, and so there's limited things that we can do on a national level that applies to all of our members. Our members can take them on a city by city, locality by locality method, and be a voice in their own community.
As someone who came from outside the hospitality industry, that I did as well, was there something that surprised you as you started to learn about hospitality, about the bartender community in this role?
Yeah, the biggest thing is I was in it for a little bit, for 10 years, but bartending back then was drastically different than bartending is now. I skipped the entirety of the development of the craft cocktail movement. Like, I was making blank and blanks when I was, vodka sodas, et cetera. That's what our bread and butter was. Sure. At no point did I ever learn how to make an old fashioned, much less the 72 million variations thereof that now exist. And so that learning curve for me has been massive, to understand and to recognize how the craft of bartending has developed. I talked with my board a while back about the idea that if we had drink TV, similar to how we have food TV, the respect for bartenders and the respect for the industry would be drastically different.
Absolutely.
And there is just as much, to me, that goes into a recipe in a glass as a recipe on a plate. And we need to start telling those stories and making those connections for people to understand that this is not just about going out on a Friday night and consuming as much as you can without falling over. It is a craft and artistry as well. And there's a lot of study and a lot of knowledge that goes into it. And I always sort of knew that, but now watching it and being at things like Tales and going to BCB, Bar Convent Brooklyn and things like that, to see it and witness it has been fascinating, to just watch all of that development.
That's very cool.
For members that have maybe stepped away from the United States Bartenders Guild in the last few years, do you have any words for them to welcome them back?
Absolutely.
And to maybe to take, another second thought about, maybe I should really give the United States Bartenders Guild another shot?
Yeah, I think we're now, I think, in the third chapter of the USBG. So for a long time, for about 50 some odd years, it was a volunteer-only based organization in various communities as they would start up. And there was a loose coalition of the leaders of those, and they formed this national thing. 11 years ago, Aaron came on as the first executive director, and it became a staff and professionalization. And now you've got a new set of not only board members, but obviously a new ED. And we have looked at what are the strengths and what are places that we can develop and make the organization better. Just in the last 6 months, we have instituted new member benefits. If you're a member of USBG, you can now be a member of a credit union based on your membership, which is really important in this industry to folks who are underbanked. We've added a partnership with Virgin Voyages that our members can get discounts on vacations. We've expanded our relationship with Engine, which is another vacation and travel online booking site. We've increased our partnership with an organization called the Independent Restaurant Coalition, so that if somebody's an owner-operator, they can get their IRC dues for half price if they're also a USBG member. We've also changed the structure on how we look at our dues and our memberships themselves. You can now make monthly payments towards that annual membership instead of all at once. And no longer do they run just from January to December. If you were to sign up today, the 22nd, I think, of July, you would end up being a member till the end of July next year. So we've really listened to feedback that we've gotten from members about what they want to see out of their membership and tried to address some of those, and we're continuing to build on those. The other piece is that we know that there was some conflicts and some challenges and some personality disputes chapter by chapter and things like that. And there is now a system to address those. There is our our resolution committee, the National Resolution Committee that deals with any of those challenges. We want to make sure that our communities and our chapter events are safe spaces, that everybody feels comfortable, that we respect the people that are there and involved. And if that doesn't happen, we want to be able to take action and change that, so that's not how people's experience is. So there's been a lot of growth and work, and we're actually running a series of ads and stuff on Facebook right now to take another look at the USBG because of what we've done over the last 6 to 9 months.
And to build on that question too, for like people in the adjacent, right, suppliers, distributors, talk to that audience about what it means for them to support the USBG or how to engage with the USBG.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're one of the strongest. There's multiple communities of bartenders around the country. We know Tails is a great place for as well. But I think that our chapter structure and our existence in the communities makes us a little bit different than the other spaces. And so if there are target markets or there are spaces that brands and suppliers want to be in, we're a great place to talk. And we're a great audience to come and present to. I think that frontline sales and frontline development are most important in the product development. I consider myself an enthusiast at this point. Like I said, I don't have the knowledge of the cocktail craft. And so when I sit down at a bar, even before I took this role, I ask the bartenders, what are your suggestions? And so if the bartenders, our members, or just the industry is aware of what the possibilities are and what the products are, they're going to be the best resources for those. And I think that USBG members, especially given the amount of education that we do, are top in that game. We have a new program called our Guild House program, which is for venues, where a venue can join our directory. And so they know that I know when I'm traveling, if I go to a Guild House, I'm going to find a bartender and a bar program that's sort of in line with the USBG values and with our product knowledge and all those kind of pieces.
Cool. Yeah. Can you talk about the USBG values and the overall mission, especially when it comes to diversity and inclusion? Because I've been a member, I think, since 1998. So
wow.
An old G, as they say, an old G, not old, an old G. Okay. So, going from a time where I would be just the only female in the room and not seeing any Black people in the room or any queer people who are out, right, in the room. And now to go to a USBG event, it's really, really cool to see people from all walks of life. And so can you talk about that mission that you are all putting forth to create that safe, beautiful space for everybody?
Absolutely. I mean, our goal is to be a place that anybody can be part of and welcome, whether you are an old school bartender or a classic cocktail bartender or a dive bar bartender, whether you were coming in our Guild House program, we've got 2 gay bars. I want us to walk the walk as well as just talk the talk. I want us to be intentional about how we approach challenges across community. You've got an openly LGBT executive director. You've got a board that is crazy diverse. I think we're 50% female. I know that we have multiple people of color. Like, we have a very diverse board. That's a board of 10, yet we have still, got that diversity in there. It's not a large pool of people, and we've been intentional that we want to create a space where all voices feel comfortable coming forward, not that we are seeking out specific people to fill roles. That's true of our NCC structure, and we want to see that in our chapters as well. We've got diverse leadership across our chapters. We've got chapter presidents who are female, male, LGBTQ, people of color, all of it. It's how we also approach all of our conversations and all our contracts and all of our involvement with different folks. We were just in Philadelphia, for example, doing site visits for our annual conference next year. And every single venue we are going into, we're talking about accessibility. I had one restaurant that we were looking at maybe doing an event in had to tell me, well, it's only 2 steps down to this space they wanted us to be in. And I'm like, well, that's awesome until you're in a wheelchair or just actually have a rolled ankle, right? Like, those 2 steps matter. It's not accessible anymore. And so that's how we are applying those values, is to make sure that all the programs that we create, all of the spaces that we are in are not only just welcoming, but really embracing of that diversity.
I love that. Thank you for doing that. So cool.
It's funny. It's a lesson that I learned personally. I had a back issue a couple of years ago, and I thought I was pretty good on diversity, and especially on accessibility and things like that. And I went to a volunteer recruitment event for a thing in DC, and it was on the second floor of a space, and it didn't have an elevator. And the doorman literally said, well, somebody can carry you up the stairs. And I'm like, I am not small. Like, good luck with that, much less that's the answer.
Right.
The interesting thing was they were recruiting for a big event, and one of the things they were recruiting for was disability ambassadors. I'm like, how are they coming to this meeting? And so, like, it took that sort of personal thing, and that's one of the reasons why I want to really meet as many members and as many leaders as I can, is we need those perspectives, because it isn't until you experience it on a personal level that you really can speak to it. And so the more conversations we can have and the more diverse people we can bring involved, the more perspectives we have to make decisions.
I would say it's a very exciting time to be part of the United States Bartenders Guild.
I think so.
I mean, I'm just
I might be a little biased.
All this amazing stuff that you're saying, it just really is exciting.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I came on board 11 months. I'm having a blast. This is one of the most fun jobs I've had. I'm loving hearing all the stuff we're doing right. I love hearing all the stuff we're not doing right. And I welcome any of our members, say this one direct, right? Any of our members, any of the critics, any of the people who are former members, come talk to us. Because we want to figure out how to fix all of that stuff. Or at least acknowledge that that's not a thing we can fix. Whatever that might be, there are some we're not going to be able to do. But we're going to at least let you know why and be honest about it and be direct about it. And then people can make a decision whether or not there was, a couple of our issues, for example, going back to the advocacy space, we're not going to probably involve ourselves in some of the issues in the public sphere. They don't directly relate to our industry, or we've got a diverse membership that has a diverse viewpoint on it. We can't be everything to everybody. What we need to be is advocates that are strong and well listened to and well respected, based on the fact that we've done the examination of issues that really relate to our members.
11 months in, it's probably hard to start thinking about your legacy, but I'm wondering, do you come into it with my leadership, if I can accomplish one thing, before my time is over here, what would that be?
I think that I can only sort of talk about what I want to do first, because I'm still doing the firsts, right? This is my first Tales. I was at my first BCB 3 months ago.
I hope you're drinking water. I hope you're drinking water.
A lot of water. I want people to understand that the leadership of the USBG is accessible and listening and trying to implement what we hear. I set out from day one to be out in as many chapters as I can. I think I'm at 18 out of the 38. So I'm trying to get to as many of them I can, because I can't hear from everyone just online or at our seminars or at our conferences. I want to be in the communities. That's not only to hear, but it's also to offer that you got a problem, I'm right here. You got a question, I'm literally right here. My email address is easily findable. We set up communications channels within the organization to make sure our chapters have easier methods to talk to us, and so that we can work with them. You can nail me on Instagram. I get DMs all the time from members via Instagram, and that's how I hope that I leave behind. But I want to implement really easy, open lines of communication and help build a trust in the organization that we have our members' best interests at heart.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Can you talk about how someone can become a member?
Absolutely.
Love it.
Go to usbg.org and click on Become a Member. It is super easy. You can also find out all of those new benefits, all of the ways that you can support it, all of the ways to volunteer, all the classes we offer, the competitions that are coming up. We are super excited for 2026. We have always been, you mentioned IBA, you referenced it. We've always been the qualifier for the U.S. competitors on the Pan Am and World Cocktail Championships, part of the IBA series. In 2026, we're implementing a full-on program to develop that from chapters, regionals, and national. So that because what we recognized is we were not training our bartenders to be super successful on the international competitions.
Oh, it's so different.
We've had great success, but that has been our bartenders taking it on their own. We haven't done the training and investment. So now they will have at least 3 times to be involved with that sort of rule set before they ever get to the international, regional, or global competitions. So we're going to be in multiple cities. Each chapter is going to be able to have an opportunity to do a local competition. We're going to have 5 regional and then a national. So there's all kinds of new fun stuff coming. Beyond becoming a member, follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, all of the usual socials. We even launched a TikTok. I think there's only 2
Oh, goodness.
videos
Will
so
we be
far.
seeing you dancing on TikTok?
Well, it's funny. The very first video is me literally going, "Is this thing on?" And that was it, right? Like, so we got it started, and we're going to try and invest more time and energy into TikTok.
That's great.
We want to also start meeting different generations of bartenders and people who are thinking about becoming bartenders and are not necessarily there yet. Whether they're working other positions in a restaurant or in a bar and want to achieve that. So we're trying to put it all out there. So you can follow us on all the socials, hit us up on the website, become a member. It'd be great.
Yeah, I love that. You just said like someone thinking about becoming a bartender. Like, what would you, for someone who's either adjacent or just not even involved, what would you say to the next generation, right, about why it's such a great career?
It's funny, when I was in my other career, the 25 years in advocacy, I would tell people all the time that I would hire someone who had hospitality experience, specifically serving or bartender, before I would hire for somebody, for example, who had an internship in a congressional office. Right. Bartenders and people in service industry have the ability to read people almost instantaneously, to make judgments of prioritization of goals, to make crisis identification, right? I talk about it from a server perspective because I spent a good number of years doing that. I have 8 tables. They all want to achieve the same thing of eating food, but they're all in different stages of that, and they're all in different mental states and stress points and all of that. And a really good bartender and a really good server can read that room in an instant and make those snap decisions. All of those lessons are directly applicable to advocacy and politics. And so whether you want to become a bartender because that you want to make a career out of it, it's an awesome, amazing career, and you get to meet so many people and have so many opportunities for travel and other things. It's also just a great place to learn skills that'll be super applicable to other industries. The ability to customer service, the ability to interact with folks, the ability to make snap decisions in a smart way and judge your priorities. It was absolutely fundamental to my success within that industry, and now hopefully I can bring that back.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love that.
Where can our listeners and viewers find the USBG and yourself on social?
On social, it is all at USBG. Super easy. You all are going to laugh, but if you want to find me on social, it is at Fat Kid and Cake.
We snuck a look at that.
Oh, did you?
Yes. So a little bit on that because it's super fun and super cute.
So
like,
I started that one during the pandemic. I started baking a lot because I was trapped in my house and needed things to do. And somebody was like, "You need to put all of your baking stuff on Instagram." And I have always said, things go together like a fat kid and cake. So it started very literal. One of the things I was doing was making cakes for Mutual Aid Society in DC. If folks aren't familiar with mutual aid, it's the idea of eliminating structures from charity. Somebody posts, "I need this," to meet an immediate need, and people say, "I have that," right? I'm getting a brand new apartment. It's my first one. I need a table. Right. Somebody goes, "Oh, I have a table in my garage. I'm not doing anything with it. It's yours." Right. One of the things that Mutual Aid Society in DC identified was that birthday cakes are a really big challenge in a family's budget sometimes. And especially during the pandemic when budgets were even tighter and programs were really about dollar by dollar, an $18, $19 birthday cake at a grocery store is a huge hit to your weekly budget. And you had all these bakers who were bored. And you had a bunch of people with cars who were also bored. So the Mutual Aid Society put together this cake brigade. Every month there'd be a list of all the cakes that needed to be made for the month. A bunch of us bakers would say, "Yeah, I can do one of those." And a bunch of drivers would be like, "I'll pick it up and drop it off." Wow. So that's how I really started doing a bunch of it. What's fascinating is we then ended up having a bunch of professional bakers come in and want to do it also, which is super cool, except all of us amateur bakers then started feeling a little inadequate. Like, our cakes were not super amazing compared. And so that's where the Instagram name was born. And now it's just like the things that I like is now the cake, right? It is things that go together like a fat kid and cake.
Do you have a specialty cake like that you still feel like can compete against those pro bakers?
I will take my flavors down against anybody. Okay. It is my decorating that needs some help. Okay. I am not super artistic. I did the best that I could.
So don't look at it, but it's going to taste great.
It's going to taste amazing.
Exactly. Okay. I made a friend a vegan cake, and after I frosted it, the whole thing fell apart. So it turned into trifles. Like I just put them in bowl. Flavors were fantastic. The cake itself was ugly as sin. But nobody cared. Like, we all had really tasty cake. So yeah, the professionals are top notch when it comes to decorating, and there's no way I could compete with that. Like, that artistry too. Like, I'm also not going to try to make an old fashioned up against one of my members.
Okay, all right. Stay in your lane, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
If you could say one thing to folks that are curious about the USBG, what would you say?
I think the most important thing is what I was saying before, that the community is most important. And we're seeing that in every aspect of life, especially here in the U.S. And that USBG is there to build community. And so if you are looking for a place to, whether it's professional community where you just want to network and find your next role, or a social community where you want to find friends who can identify with your struggles and your challenges of being in this industry, that's what I used to get in it with my mom all the time, because she would come into the bar in the restaurant and like then give me grief for being up till 4 a.m. And I'm like, you understand that my lifestyle makes your lifestyle possible, right? Like, and I don't think that people outside the industry understand that. And so to make friends and to make colleagues that are in the same job and having the same challenges of how do you work till 4 a.m. and then also make sure your kid is in daycare, right? That's a completely unique thing. And you can't have that conversation with people who haven't been in there or are in the space. So community is the #1 reason to come to USBG.
Well, Bo, I want to thank you so much for taking a moment with Cindy and I on Served Up, sharing your passion, your story, but most of all, the good work that you're doing to create change in communities and for bringing everyone together.
Well, thanks. Like I said, I'm happy to be here. I'm having a blast in the role, and this was terrific.
Yeah.
We're excited to watch, see what's coming next.
Awesome.
Absolutely are. And with that, I just want to wish you some great health and a lot of peace. And thank you for coming on Served Up. Cheers to you.
Thanks. Likewise. That's a wrap.